This is the Page Publishing Book Club. Good evening. I'm your host, Alice Stockton Rossini. Along with my engineer, Rob Barrett. Spring is springing. Inspiration is in the air. And there is no better time to start writing than right now. Especially when you've probably already been writing and it's just a matter of gathering your thoughts and your papers together. And next thing you know, you don't have one book. In Richard Holbert's case, you have three. Richard, the name of your book is?
It is The Pen and the Patriot Poet.
Now, is this something you've been meaning to write for a long time?
Oh, gosh. No, actually, I have been writing poetry just as a source of recreation because I spent 30 years in the Marine Corps and many years away from my family. And the way I would spend my time is reading and studying and going to school, and then I would also sit and write poetry.
What are the poems about?
Well, it covers everything from politics to history to nature to family to love to war and peace.
You got one you can read for me?
Oh, absolutely. Let's see. Well, here I just opened it up to one called Hidden Splendor, and it goes like this. The petals of a flower are so delicate and soft, beckoning to the warmth of each ray of the sun. With each wisp of the breeze, their tenderness is tossed. They dance, having such fun. The tiniest among them have such intricate designs. Hidden amid towering forests of grass, each discovery so sublime. Glistening droplets of morning dew wash each little face so clean and fair. Then, as the grandeur of the day unfolds, sweet nectar's fragrance fills the air. For each radiant little countenance, peering up into the light, with pastel hues from a rainbow of color, life is pure delight.
That's very sweet. That's a very sweet poem. How are you getting people to read these?
Well, I've given a lot of books away to family and friends and things like that. I'm about to do my second book signing at Barnes & Noble here in Virginia Beach. And what happened was the Gold Star families. They're the folks that have lost a member of their family to death in combat. They contacted Barnes & Noble and asked for an author to do a book signing for them. And Barnes & Noble contacted me and says they would like you. So I says, yay, verily, let's do it. And I've written something for them to give them as a gift once they buy the book. It's called Heart Palpitations for the Gold Star Families.
That's great.
But I'm also contacting the person who buys books for all the military exchanges here in the greater Tidewater area here in Virginia Beach. And Hampton and Suffolk and places like that. And hopefully they'll go ahead and put them in there, and then I'll do book signings there.
Great.
Then maybe they can pass the word on to other exchanges around the country. So I'll travel to San Diego, and travel to Philadelphia and New York and places like that, and do things like that.
That's the spirit, Richard. Good for you.
So,
that's what you got to do.
I've got a book signing scheduled for up in Wellsboro, Pennsylvania. And that's right up where the Pennsylvania Grand Canyon is. And I'm looking to go up there on July 1st and do a book signing there. And then from there, I move on to Rochester, New York for another book signing up there. So we'll see.
Richard, I got to tell you, that is the best way to connect with your readers. You can see them. You can talk to them. You can sign books for them. I know you got some traveling ahead, but it's all for a good cause. The Gold Star Families. Richard, by the way, has already finished Volume 2, and he's almost done with Volume 3. So we'll probably talk to him again. Melanie Kimmerling is also a poet, but she was the last person who ever thought she would write a book because she's dyslexic. And all of her life she was told, you're not going to amount to much. Well, guess what? She did. Her book is called Running Over Bridges. Take it away, Melanie.
Okay, Running Over Bridges is short poems or little ideas or feelings or emotions or parts of my life or how I see things. And they kind of reach a lot of people, not just one group of people. I've been told it reaches children to adults. and I was even told to write children's books because I'd be very good at it. But I like writing the little short poems because when I was older, I found out I had dyslexia, so I never wrote. Writing was the last thing in my mind. I was fighting a lot of pain, and my one girlfriend said, go take a walk, clear your head, and whatever in your mind, write it down on a piece of paper, and then read it to me. So that's what I did. And she turned around and she says, you never told me you were a writer. And I go, what? No, I don't think so. I said, this is just what came off the top of my head. But that poem was like the key that unlocked my brain, and I've been writing these bits and pieces ever since. And it's very relaxing, and I either write the poem or I see a picture and write a poem about it.
So your poems run the gamut. They're not anything in particular or specific to anything?
No, they reach many levels of people.
How many poems have you written? A lot?
Okay, in this book I've got 142. In the next book that I'm working on, I've got 180.
Wow.
They just dump out. What was really strange is going into some bookstores, I see a lot of poem books. So I did not feel that mine were any special or that they'd get any attention or they'd really be, any different. But from what I've heard and understood, they're well liked.
What are you doing to get people to read your book?
Well, I'm going to start. My one girlfriend's going to get a web page for me. She's going to help me set up a web page. Then I'm going to do book signings and go into craft shows and that and set up and do book signings there. I never knew I could write. You know what I mean? I just never knew I was a writer until my girlfriend pushed me into it. Yeah, about 2 years ago. I didn't, like I said, with dyslexia, I had a hard time putting anything together, but with the new programs they've got, makes it easier to write. So I'm finding I'm not as handicapped as other people thought I was.
Well, good for you. Right there, you've done something amazing.
Thank you. I think I'm enjoying my life now more than I ever have.
Melanie, that's because you've accomplished something you never thought possible. You wrote a book, and you proved to everyone that you were not going to use dyslexia or anything else as an excuse not to move forward. Talk about overcoming major issues, picking yourself up and moving forward. Justin Cloud tells a harrowing story in Phoenix Rising from the Ashes.
It's about a kid who experiences trauma and abuse and grows up and rebels as a teenager, and as an adult, the consequences he receives for his actions.
What happens to this kid?
Well, his father was in prison for armed robbery and involuntary manslaughter at his birth. His mom went through a string of men, ultimately opening up her own escort business. How going to her businesses every day after school affected his outlook on life. As a teenager, most of my life I've wanted to be a part of something. When I was young, I wanted to be a part of a normal family. As a teenager, I wanted to be a part, accepted by my peer group. And then as an adult, I wanted to be accepted by the culture that I graduated into.
So this is your story?
Yes.
That sounds intense, Justin. Sounds intense.
Yeah.
Did you have to go through therapy, or how did you get through this?
I wanted to be like the adults in my life. Obviously, when my mom was running her whorehouses, there was the criminal and drug use were the adults in my life. By the time I graduated from high school, I thought everyone used some type of substance, whether it was alcohol or painkillers or drugs. My view on life was distorted. But when I was 18 years old, a friend of mine was raped and murdered in my apartment, and I was beaten and tied up and left for dead. And then they started the apartment on fire. And after that is when I began using meth. Prior to that, I was smoking pot all the time and some drinking, but began using meth heavily after my friend's murder. And then by the time I was 21, I'd been married and divorced twice, and and had 3 children and was on my way to prison.
Oh, man. So this writing this book was therapeutic, I guess.
In a way, yeah. Ever since my friend was murdered, I'm from Sioux City, Iowa. I now live in Fairbanks, Alaska. And, when I go to apply for a job or I meet someone for the first time, I just assumed everyone knew about my friend's murder. And I would have to explain to them what happened, even though often, as time went by, everyone forgot about it or didn't know about it. And, even here in Alaska, when I meet someone for the first time, I find myself having this urge to explain what happened. And this book helped explain what happened.
Wow.
I, sitting around in prison or sitting around with friends visiting, just telling stories about lives. My story was always the story that got everyone's attention.
Yeah.
And I've been told many times in life that I should write a book. I contemplated it a few times, but I didn't think that it would be wise to write a book until I got to the point in life where I was no longer living that type of life.
Right. You're clean now?
Yes.
That's amazing. That's amazing in itself, Justin.
It is. It wasn't easy. I tried to find a way to use that I would not have consequences.
Right.
And I tried and tried to find a way. An addict's favorite last words are just one more time.
Mm-hmm.
And I one more time myself to death.
Well, Justin, you're still here, and already your book is getting some attention. Justin, by the way, entered his book into a contest at Buzz. It's bzz.com, and the book was chosen as a finalist. Now, his long-term goal is to be a motivational speaker. He wants to help troubled kids. He wants to help people in prison. Right now, he's working at Alaska Steel in Fairbanks, and he's married to a mental health professional. And he's managed to set up 4 book signings already at a local bookstore. Now, if this isn't a story of if he can do it, so can you. I don't know what is, Rob. I just don't know. We are going to take a quick break. We've got so much more for you tonight, including going backstage at some of the greatest TV shows over the last 4 decades. So stay put. We will be right back. This is the Page Publishing Book Club.
Attention all authors. Page Publishing is looking for authors. Have you written a book and want to get it published? Page Publishing will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, Apple iTunes, and other outlets. They handle all aspects of the publishing process for you. Printing, cover art, publicity, copyright, and editing. Call 800-204-6099 now for your free author submission kit. That's 800-204-6099 for your free author submission kit.
Name this show. Come on. Time's up. This is the Page Publishing Book Club. Welcome back. I'm your host, Alice Stockton Rossini. Thanks for hanging out with me and my new best friend at midnight, Rob Barretts, my engineer. Tonight's show is all about doing whatever it takes to do what you want to do, whether it's overcoming dyslexia to prove to yourself and the rest of the world that you can write a book, or overcoming a bad deal you got in life through no fault of your own. How about just being the best you can be at whatever it is you enjoy doing? Kevin Fieldhouse talks about just that in his book called Colorblind.
The book's pertaining to color of race. The book is about 2 individuals, a black fighter and a white fighter from completely different backgrounds, and the book will show through their characters, through their events in life, that they're pretty much the same character if you got rid of the race and social status. And the objective, obviously, is to get away from judging people by their looks and their social status, and look deeper into their characters and realizing the true identity of a person.
Where did you get the inspiration for this?
Basically, I grew up in the suburbs in Wayne, New Jersey, and I ended up fighting amateur level of boxing, and I ended up being a professional boxer. And I used to go right over to the nice suburban area of Wayne, is Patterson, New Jersey, which is pretty much poverty-stricken, crime-ridden area. and that's where the good boxing gyms were. And as a kid, 16, 17 years old, I used to venture over there and basically became the minority in the boxing world because I was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed kid from the suburbs who was participating in a sport that was predominantly black and Hispanic.
And how did they treat you? If you're a decent boxer, they treat you with respect, right?
Well, yes, that's what's great about boxing. And I always said that once you step through the ropes of a boxing ring, or even go further than that, it's the MMA, the wrestling. It really doesn't matter if you're a cop or if you're a criminal, if you're black or white, if you're big, tall, if you had a good upbringing, bad upbringing. The only thing that matters is if you can fight. And it's really, truly an area that is colorblind.
Did you have a good experience? How far did you get as a boxer?
I had a real good experience. I had 15 pro fights. I had lost 2 of them. I fought on national TV. And my first experiences was the racism towards me, the intimidation tactics that I had going into the gym. I think I had, at that time, there was about 6 fighters in my weight class that I could spar with, me being the only white, and I think the rest were Afro-American, and might have been one Spanish guy. And initially when I went in there, I was treated with a cold shoulder, tried to be intimidated against. Once I went in the ring, at the first day at this boxing ring, they put me in with the best kid out of the group of my weight class, and I thought I did that, but I evidently did well, and gained the respect of these fighters, and within a short period of time, became friends, and the guard was dropped, as you would say, and I ended up being the better fighter out of all of them. So.
That's awesome. So what do you do now?
I'm actually the New Jersey State Trooper. I'm a lieutenant with them. And I also, most of my career was in narcotics. I was over at the DEA for 7 years. I ran a task force over there. And then I was in our street gang unit, which worked in these inner cities, for a good 10 years, dealing with both of the drug-ridden areas and, drug dealers and things of that nature.
Did you win their trust? Do you still know these people that you?
Well, over the years, I'm older now. I'm 53, and I initially wrote this book with the thoughts of my my sons that were in that area of teenage to young adult area, just to and at that age group where everybody judges everybody by what they do, what they wear, and just try to open our eyes about other people, and also about don't always think that everybody has it better than you. With these 2 characters, they go through some things in life, and it's basically everybody has their cross to bear. And the white fighter in this book is going through some health issues where he comes down with cancer, and the other fighter doesn't really know it, but from the other fighter's eyes, who's grown up in poverty-stricken and had every stumble and block thrown in his way, he looks like that the whole deal, the whole package, where he's struggling with his own problems. So everybody has their crosses to bear in life, and everybody has trials and tribulations, and who's to say whose is more or less than others? It's it all depends on the individual. But I would say at the end of this book, and I'm a proponent, I always said that my health is my most important thing. Without your physical and mental health, you really can't do. You're going to be limited in what you could do. So at the end of this book, in the beginning of the book, you didn't think, well, the black character struggled, his terrible life. At the end of the book, you might be saying, you know what, I'd rather have this black character's life than the white character who seemed to have all the good things in life and things that came to him easily. My goal is to get it into the high schools where it was locally at one time years ago under a different name called Turning Pro, because it is educational as well as a good, quick story. It's great for a reluctant reader. Even myself, being from the outside, I was a white kid who grew up in a nice suburban area. I went to a private school till high school. However, I had I barely got through high school. I had a learning disability that, I would learn through my son who was struggling in school, with the ADD, the whole factor with that, and, struggled to get through school and had to always work harder to get the grades. And I think I read my first book in high school with a red fern rose. I just remember it because it was about a dog, and I had a dog, and it was a great experience. But I still was I was a reluctant reader, and the way I write is, I like to have a page turner where you don't have to, these kids don't get lost with the words.
All right, Kevin. We got some great stories tonight, don't we, Rob? Really good stories. I mean, stories that could be like movies, or at the very least, short TV movies. This guy had a learning disability, became a respected boxer, didn't read his first book till high school, and now he's a New Jersey State Trooper writing his first book. He sent a copy, by the way, to Rush Limbaugh. He told me, can you believe that? Sent a copy to Rush. I wonder if he read it, because he feels like he's got something in common with Rush. He likes to expose hypocrisy. All right, our last author had a lot of fun being a stage manager for every major network in New York City. Daniel Morgan wrote Last Stage Manager Standing. Tell us more, Daniel.
I stage managed for 50 years. I did 10 years at CBS. I did a year at PBS, and I did another 30 years at ABC. With everyone who was anything in New York City television. I didn't go to Hollywood.
You didn't have to go to Hollywood. There was no need to leave New York City, right?
I know, and the lovely Connie Chung wrote the introduction to my book.
Oh, nice. That's
yeah.
great. So this must be a really cool collection of all the things you've experienced as a stage manager.
Well, here's really what it is, okay? It's a book of unrelated stories that I tied together. What I try to do in the book basically is make it like barroom conversation.
You got a story for me?
Oh, my God. I mean, where do you want to start? Going back to Captain Kangaroo, Bob started out as Claravell with Howdy Doody and Buffalo Bob Smith and got fired and reincarnated himself as Captain Kangaroo. So the captain, apparently, it was my opinion, maybe drank his lunch. And so I come back to the studio one day, and this bird cage is all smashed up, So apparently Bob had a tantrum and beat up a bird cage. So I went to the stagehand and said, gee, should we call up the SPCA? He said, don't worry, it was a plastic bird. That's one of 500 stories.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
I wasn't the brains of it. My dear old mom, who's 94, lives in Downingtown, Pennsylvania, says, Danny, you got to write these stories down. I didn't have a log, I didn't have notes, I just from my memory. And even my daughter Jill says, Dad, how did you remember all this stuff? I said, well, I just did, because in those days, television was fun. You went to work early, you stayed late, you partied, you worked hard, and now, the corporate drones have taken over, and it's no longer fun. Thank God.
They've taken over everything. They've taken over TV. They've taken over radio. They've taken.
Oh, yeah. Now, I'm not permitted on any Disney property.
What did you do?
Well, you can write a tremendous lie about someone, or you can write a fantasy about them, but never, ever tell the truth.
Did you tell the truth?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Well, that's to my memory, you know what I'm saying? I mean, my memory is 90% accurate, not 100% accurate, but sure, of course. Yeah.
So with the Disney Corporation, you had issues?
Well, yeah, it was ABC, I think. I also write about all the people that have fired me over the years, which could be another book in itself. I believe, and no one will tell me because, ABC News Management are a bunch of spineless hermaphrodites. I think a Diane Sawyer person fired me, producer, maybe 2 years ago, and eventually I'll find this person's name. The book will flush them out. It's like being a deer hunter. Sometimes you have to sit and wait for the deer to come by, and the deer will come by eventually. I worked with sensational women. I worked with Barbara Walters, who treated me first rate. Diane Sawyer, up until maybe now, treated me first rate. Maria Shriver was fantastic. Catherine Cryer, and of course Connie Chung. I was truly blessed by the people I was associated with on a daily basis.
What do you think is, readers are going to find the most fascinating?
Well, here's what I kind of think and feel. If you enjoyed watching television in the last 50 years, you're going to enjoy the book, whether you like soap operas, sports. I wrote a lot about Bart Simpson, Futurama. I really covered it in bits and snippets, and hopefully there will be a volume 2. But I kind of think the blogs, will be my second book.
Are you having any problem getting people to read this book?
Oh no. Peter Jennings was a real trip. My God, I just had so much respect for that man. But he was sort of a tough guy at times, and Peter thought, in TV3, which is at 47 West 66th Street, that the men's room wasn't that far away. But Peter would dash into the makeup room, which was real close, and then use the sink. It was like everyone knew it, but no one said anything.
He would use the thing to relieve himself?
Yes.
Oh, gross.
I know. And every day was laugh out loud. You just couldn't believe it.
That disappoints me because I loved him.
No, but I wrote about it in a nice way. But
okay.
And he had his memorial service at Carnegie Hall, and Alan Alda was a neighbor of his out in the Hamptons, and they were doing a function, and Peter, was just very, very pushy, very brash. So he tells Alan at the function, he says, "You are going to return that tie tomorrow, aren't you?" he hated his tie. Oh my God!
Nice.
And I had 30 feet apart. I had him in his anchor desk, and the transmission room, which is like a broom closet, I wrote tremendously about that. ABC was so cheap; they were just amazing. But I had Richard Holbrook, who married one of his ex-wives, 30 feet apart. So I had Don von Prague, the stagehand, because it was a glass door that put cardboard over the glass so they wouldn't see each other.
Oh,
I didn't want a body count like in Vietnam. In the studio.
Oh, this sounds like fun, Daniel.
Oh my God, yeah. And Bill O'Reilly. Oh my God. I worked with Bill at Channel 2 and at ABC,
Okay.
And for someone at Channel 2 News, and of course Brian Williams. My God, I used to call him Brill Cream Brian Williams. He told best 30 jokes before the 12 noon news anyone ever taught. He would have 15 jokes in 30 seconds. He was fantastic. There's some decent people, but really it's just class warfare. Make them look good on a daily basis. Sometimes they barely know your name.
Well, people are going to know your name now, Daniel. I'll tell you that. It sounds like really, you probably had so much fun. It's like radio. We have down and dirty fun in radio, do we not? Down and dirty fun. Class warfare. Do you ever feel like we have class warfare around here? I hear on TV it's bad. Stars look down at you. Do they look down on you, Rob? I don't know. I don't think we have as much of that in radio. Although you can always count on a diva to not talk to you for 7 years. You know what I'm saying? That'll be in my book. Anyway, I believe we have come to the end of another fun time here on the Page Publishing Book Club. I can't wait until one of our authors gets a TV series or a movie. One author told me, by the way, that if a producer reads her book and makes it a movie, that I can be in it. Yes, it's true. I can be in it. Who's going to play you, Rob? We'll have to look through some pictures. Geez. Thanks so much for stopping by tonight. And don't forget to tune in every morning to the Todd Schnitt, Len Berman Show. We are having a blast. Check it out right here on 710 WOR. In the meantime, write.